So thank you so much for joining us, Ugochukwu. I would quickly run through something that I put together for us just to sort of set the tone and set the ground for Ugochukwu to take over. And I'll try and be as quickly as possible. Um, I would share my screen, so let me know when you can see my screen. Let me know when you can see my screen, please. Okay, thanks, Mirabel. All right, welcome guys to day two of the Fail Forward Hackathon. And I think all excitement, all efforts are gearing up to the submission and then the demo day, which is going to happen on the 12th of December. Today, I'm going to be walking us through something I put together that just gives us an understanding of what it means to frame problems and then also carry out maybe any kind of research work that needs to be done. Um, a few stats which are just to sort of help set the tone of the conversation. First of all, a lot of startups for fail rather within their first decades, and 90% is a large number. And it's funny because when we hear, about the companies that get to raise funds from VCs, they raise millions of dollars, even those funds too, are not immune. Companies have raised and fallen. Companies have gained value, proper market valuation, and they've still fallen. But it's interesting to also note that 40% of new products vanish from shelves within 2 years. Cool products, nice products, products that work, and all of that, they still end up vanishing. And less than 50% of product ideas actually improve the metrics that are supposed to improve. And then the final point is that most failures are not due to bad technology. They are due to a lack of customers. So all of these are just to sort of build up that understanding that whether a company is performing well or not, it's still subject to failing if they don't pay attention to what really matters. And I would quickly touch on what that thing is that really matters and how anyone who cares really can begin to explore that. And so I'm making a very bold statement that everyone is a designer. I know that for everyone participating in this hackathon, I'm sure you've been seeing messages, hey builders, hey builders, hey builders. Yeah, you're builders because you're building solutions. But for this evening, permit me to add an additional title to your role that refers to you as a designer. And I'll explain to you how and what that means. Right? A designer is or a design rather, or to design is to place an intention or an intent behind the process or product or service or tool. And that's just a fancy way of saying that if you pay attention to anything that you are doing, and in order to make it work or appear a certain way, right? Especially to the people that get to interact with it, it's design, and it's different from whether it's if it's creative, maybe like visual design. What makes it different? What makes it design different from an artwork is that it is highly objective, meaning that there's a series of thoughts, series of practices or um, rules that are being followed to make sure that at least 80% of the people that interact with it feel the same way. Or sure, let me say 95, right? Whereas art is subjective. In art, people can interact with something and feel or sense something different. But design is essentially functional so that people interact with your process, your service, your product, or your tool, and they do the same thing or feel the same way after using it. And to design simply means to make something better for someone in this context. To design a product means to make someone's life better through that product. To design a service means to make someone's life better through that service. So it's not just about visual or aesthetics, but it's about solving problems that really matter and creating value, real value for real people, right? And so when I speak to people who are business owners, people who are in high positions of power, I use this to sort of give them an idea of why this is important. I already mentioned in the statistics that the reason why 50% of products leave the shelf or fail is because they don't have customers, they don't have users, right? So here you see that there's no business without paying customers, and you don't have value without paying customers, and you are not addressing any need. If you don't address any need, you won't have value, and you need a product to address a need. And without a product, you can't have users. So that's just the bottom line. I explain this in detail whenever I run through this presentation. But what I want you to take from this is the fact that users are the key thing. They are the principal thing when it comes to product development, and that can also now inform the success or downfall of a business, right? So having users means that you don't just have an idea or a tool that works. Oh, I built this, and you've published it, you've shared it, you put it on a shelf. If nobody buys it, you don't have a product. I mean, technically speaking, you have a product, but if you don't have customers or users, you're on your own. So the best approach is to find users before you even build the product, because in finding the users, you get to know what the right product is. You get to build what people want. Very important. Ideas are overrated. Anybody can have an idea. Anybody can build something cool. Especially now that there's AI. Anybody can build something cool, especially if they know how to prompt well. What makes it valuable is if it really solves a problem for somebody. And that's the reason why we are going through this whole exercise, to give you um, knowledge, to give you tools and guidance to actually going out there to find people who have issues, who have problems that you can solve. If you already have problems that you are passionate about, find the people that are suffering because of that problem. If you are the one suffering because of the problem, I mean, it's a plus. Some famous people have used their frustrations to birth some amazing products like Airbnb. Brancheski loved to travel, but he didn't like staying in hotels. He didn't also like the way the service was. Now he has Airbnb, and Airbnb is everywhere in the world, right? So solutions to problems are really what drive the value in your product creation. I cannot stress this enough. Okay, so I already listed out businesses, customers, value, need, and all that. So these are just definitions of each of the terms. A business is just a system that creates value, right? Like a cycle of value creation consistently for paying customers. Paying customers. If the customers are not paying, it's charity, right? Customers are people who pay for your solution. Value is the benefit that exceeds the cost in the user's mind. So what are you giving to them that is beyond the money that they are parting away with, right? And then a need is a genuine problem that causes pain or friction. In yesterday's webinar, I spoke about how we're going to learn how to find out who is hurting, what the pain is, and how they're currently solving for that problem. Now, the product is where you come in to say, okay, you have a particular product, a problem rather, and this is how you're solving it, but have something better. Again, there'll be resources that you'd have access to just to gain a better understanding of it. I would also share as a bonus, I'll share a tool that would also guide, because I know there's a lot of questions during this that are going on during the that will happen or come about during the build period. Sorry, I don't know. I almost beat my tongue. But yeah, I'll share a tool that can also help to put things in perspective. One thing that have, um, I know, and I still try to fight against is that people don't read, right? And I'm like, okay, fine. You know that people don't read, Jeffrey. How can you help them? I know that presentations go a long way, but I think one of the good uses of AI tools would be to use them for what they are. So what I mean by that is the AI tools that we're familiar with now, the ChatGPTs, the Geminis, they are basically chatbots, right, that have something called a large language model or a knowledge base that they fetch from. Now, all the technical stuff that needs to happen to make them understand or act like they understand the knowledge and information has been engineered and programmed. But without the data, without the knowledge, they are dumb, pretty much. They're not intelligent. So the tool, I'll share it maybe to be posted on the WhatsApp group. So you can use that to also keep track of your activities during the hackathon. So that's a problem and a solution. Now it's just a tool. Oh. If you don't need it and you don't use it, it will remain as it is, right? So that's why real users, real people with real problems, are required to validate your product. So whatever you're building, if you don't have people who say, ah, yes, this is a problem that I'll pay for, if they don't enter their information, their emails, their just to sign up, or their phone numbers, emails, or even payment information, you don't have a product that is validated. What you have is a nice idea that has been built. I know it sounds a bit harsh, but yeah, that's really what ends up happening. So, one mindset that I like to encourage is one where you work for your customers, meaning that you are already passionate about people, users, and you are working with them as if they are part of your team or members of your board to find out what they need, find out what problems they're having, talk to them, engage them. What is a day in their life? Where they get to experience this pain? How does the pain affect them or limit them? Does it cost them money? Does it cost them time? Does it cost them comfort? What is it that this pain is taking away from them so that you know how much of a problem it is and what would they consider a solution when they see it? So this means that their problems are your problems, their success drives your decisions, their feedback shapes your roadmap, and their needs become your assumptions. I won't go much into details on this, but it's essentially a mindset that helps you stay focused. Because again, ideas are like the wind. You would have plenty ideas and plenty features, but if you stay focused, you can make the most of it. I already spoke about working for your users, and this is working with your users, collaborating with them, meeting their needs, and learning from them. Very important. I'll have to quickly rush. Some details will be shared. You learn how to figure out who you're building for, why they need it, how they currently solve their problem, and what to make them switch to your solution. There will be something called the product launch pad shared as well as part of the resources. And it will just give you some questions that you can, if you answer, it will help you to gain clarity. I want to quickly talk about design thinking. Remember, I said we're all designers, right? Actually, if you care about solving problems, design thinking is, in simple terms, it's a human-centered approach to solving problems. Just means that you care about people, right? And so they have this framework that goes from empathizing, where you relate or feel the pain that your users are feeling, and then you can also frame their problem or define what problem they're having in such a way that lets you understand it and then come up with ideas to solve those problems. Then you can also now come up with a prototype, not just an idea in your head, but a working solution that you can put in front of them and test. So they give you feedback. You then take that feedback and iterate or improve on it to make the solution better. Why the best example of this is the ideal team. Ideal is a design agency, and they were tasked with redesigning a shopping cart. I'm sure we're all familiar with shopping carts. and you've seen so many variations, so many styles. There's the generic one that is just metal, right? But they designed one that cater to the needs of people in a specific context or a particular region. And the way they were able to do it was that they observed the people, the shoppers, they observed the employees, they interacted with safety experts just to learn more about how people behave, what people consider problems, what they consider safe, what they consider issues, right? And then they defined what a solution would look like. And then they came up with the ideas in the collaborative brainstorming session. Um, and then they created a prototype and they tested it. So at this defined stage, this is when they say, oh, this is what is important to the user after empathizing. So you can think of the empathize stage as learning, right? You can think of the defined phase as framing, right? And then you can think of the ideation, idea, coming up with the ideas or solution. And then the prototype is where you actually build. So it's my hope that today you have maybe for those of us that already have ideas that want to build out, you already know who your target audience is. If you don't, that's fine. Like I said, the resources are going to be shared. You can begin to start exploring or figuring out who exactly your customer. You can't solve for everybody. Everybody is not your customer. Pick a very niche segment of people that are really suffering or really hurting from this particular challenge. What is it that they are going through? And then once you identify their problem, figure out what you know your focus should be, what the problem you want to solve is, frame it and say, okay, these people are suffering from this, they struggle with this, and this is what it leads to. Then you come up with ideas on how you can solve, and then you begin to prototype. So before you enter Bolt, I know yesterday I mentioned that you should create an account and play around with Bolt. Please do so, play around with it. But before you start using the promo code, that's the 1 month promo code. Make sure you understand how both works. Make sure you play around with it just so that you have an idea. And then once you've created something, you can then start putting in front of people and testing, right? There are different ways to test. You can create a landing page. You can go on social media and ask questions. You can use TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. That's where your users are. That's where people are. If you are targeting people who are not on those platforms, where are they? How can you find them? How can you interact with them? You need to interact with them. Um, I think I'll skip this because this was supposed to be an example where a product was built for the wrong audience, right? And the mistake that led to, and how pivoting from that helped. So again, validation is um, getting feedback that allows you to that makes you confident of people's willingness to invest or part away with their money, right? So you say, never assume you solve the problem until you get feedback that you can invest with. Um, some key takeaways would be getting feedback as quickly as possible, right? If someone says, "Nah, I don't want this," that's feedback. Don't say, "Ah, you don't know what you're talking about." No, that's feedback. Ask them why. How do you think it doesn't solve your problem? Like, try and understand from their perspective why this doesn't align. If someone says, that sounds like a good idea, I think I would like to try it. Say, okay, it currently costs 1,000 naira a month, or it costs 2,000 naira a month. You see yourself paying for it? And they say yes. My guy, you've gotten validation, right? Um, Experiment, fail fast, get feedback as quickly as possible, and then for building things that don't scale, this just basically means that you can solve some problems without a software, without tech. And I'll explain. So Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb, they had an issue where they were struggling to get people to register to they were struggling to get customers to book places. And what they ended up doing was to figure out why. And they realized that, okay, the pictures were not so convincing or encouraging, but these places were really good places. The pictures were just terrible. And so they came up with a hypothesis that, okay, what if we improve the pictures? Would that lead to an increase in people booking? And so they tested it out. They didn't use any software. They just gathered cameras. They themselves went to people's homes and asked, "Can we take a picture of your house? Professional pictures." And they took professional pictures, good angles, nice lighting and everything, and they uploaded them on the platform. And the result was that the bookings increased, right? And then they now understood, okay, this is something that is actually a determinant because they were able to do it at such a small scale, probably five people, right? Going from house to house, maybe seven houses in a week. They were able to, if it failed, they didn't lose anything, right? They didn't spend thousands of dollars on anything. They just by themselves took the pictures and tested their theory. So building things that don't scale means if you have a theory, find a way to build it or to test it rather in a way that doesn't require a lot of investment, a way that doesn't require a lot of effort, so that you can get feedback as quickly and as cheap as possible. So that's what building things that don't scale in a nutshell typically means. Um, I would skip all of this. Okay, yeah, I already mentioned all this. So yeah, I said that the launchpad will be shared. I would share the link with community managers, and then I think it's also in the resource library, and then they would use it to they will share it with everyone who needs access. So that is all for me. Thank you so much, guys. Would hand over to either the Mirabel or Bridget. If there's any important information that needs to be shared before Ugochukwu comes up.
None from my end.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, none from
Ugochukwu.
me to Jeffery, but I'd just like to know how, the participants are feeling so far from that first session, and what are you looking forward to, from this next one? How was it? So you can just drop a comment in the chat. How was this first session for you before we get into our next technical mentor tonight? You can let us know how was this session for you. Okay, Michael says awesome. Henry says great. Amazing, amazing. All right, Ugochukwu, over to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, hello everyone. Good evening. Confirm my audio is good. Confirm my audio quality is good. Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you, Jeffrey. So we'll just get started immediately. And I'll try to make this as practical as possible. Um, okay, I'll need access. I'll need access to share my screen. Thank you, Jeffrey. So just 1 minute. My screen will just come up now. But yeah, before we get into what I'll be sharing this evening, um, I have a question. So I can see a total of 17 people on the call, but I think the participants are about 13 or thereabouts. Okay, but let me just ask my question while my slides are coming up. I want you to write down the top 3 applications you use daily. Top 3. No, let's make it 4. Top 4. Please just drop it on the comment section. Top 4, top 4, top 4, top 4. Top 4 applications used daily. Please let's drop that on the comment section. Share that. Confirm you can see my screen now.
It's still coming up.
Is it off now? Okay,
Yes.
great, 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 great. I haven't seen comments. Please let's share the top four. ChatGPT, WhatsApp, Twitter, VS Code. Okay, nice. Um, Godspar. Thank you, Godspar. Um, thank you, Michael. WhatsApp, Chrome, Mail. Mm, mm, okay. Okay. YouTube. David said YouTube. That's the only app you have installed on your, or that's the app you use more often. Marvelous said Twitter, WhatsApp, Instagram, ChatGPT. Hmm. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. I need more people to share theirs. The top four, top four applications you use day on a daily basis. Okay. For those that have shared, thank you very much. For those still sharing, so I want to ask a question. Okay, I can see. Ah, how is this working? Okay. Um, God's power WhatsApp. Um, Glory WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Gmail, Microsoft Edge. Okay, Jeffrey, WhatsApp, Elevate, Instagram, Duolingo. Wow, wow. Jeffrey, yours sounds very serious. WhatsApp, OP. Wow. Is that it? Oh, Bridget. Don't mind me. I wanted to say, is that a lady? Don't worry. WhatsApp, OP. Um, Google, Google Keep Notes. Okay, YouTube. Okay, okay. Okay. So thank you. The reason why I asked this question is for us to then think around why do I use these applications? X, which is Twitter, Claude. Yeah, Claude. I know Claude. I know Claude. WhatsApp, VS Code. So the question now is, can someone just unmute? Uh, if you're in a good place, just unmute and just let me know why these applications. What is the one feature that these applications give to you that has given you that stickability? Anyone can unmute, please. Let's just do that quickly so I can move into my presentation. So this is just a very brief icebreaker. Very brief icebreaker. Can anyone unmute
Hello,
them?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you. Godspar, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, please. Yes, please speak.
Okay, so for WhatsApp, it gives me that opportunity to connect with people, most especially
Okay.
my close friends and relatives. And ChatGPT, it's acting like Google kind of for me, where I can, browse ideas, validate what I'm doing. Then it acts as a tutor as well for me. Then
Mm,
Twitter is where more like getting information globally is like an information hub, more like the way we have our news back then. And so we
yes.
use Twitter now to get information, what's going on in the country, even outside the
Mm-hmm.
country, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Then VS Code, because I do program, so it gives me that environment where I can write my code in a very fluent way, unlike when you are using things like Notebook, which might be very difficult. So VS Code gives you all of the functionality, the necessary extensions to make coding easier for me. So yeah, that's why I use all of them.
Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And like I said, I'm trying to make this very practical. So while you're building yours, you're building with scalability in mind. You're building with solving real problems, solving real problems. Um, you Godspar, you agree with me that WhatsApp is not the only messaging app or the only social media or messaging app you have, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's not the only one.
Okay. So now let me even tell you one of the reasons why Nigerians use WhatsApp. Free calls, right? For those that want to talk long as your mother is in Port Harcourt, you're in Lagos, and you need to speak with her. For people who are very close to their parents, sometimes you talk over 30 minutes. You just realize that WhatsApp makes it easy. I tell you, that's one of the strong reasons Nigerians use WhatsApp. I tell you, apart from and does all this collaboration. So while building, the question is, am I solving real problems? Or am I solving what I think are real problems? These are two different things. What you think and what is. What you think and what is. What you think and what is. I've been on Twitter since 2012. Don't ask me how many followers I have. I don't have a lot of followers. But Twitter was just that place where I could just go. It's a very funny place. Sometimes toxic, it can be a toxic place, but at the same time, like God's power said, timely, sometimes if you need certain information, Twitter is the place to go. Twitter is the place to go. And someone would say, so a lady, this is quite on a lighter mood. A lady posted a picture where she was putting on a wig, and then she wrote there, um, I've I've been keeping my hair for, was it 5 years or so? And someone zoomed in to the, what do they call that thing? Um, what do they call it? Is it extension where they fixed it, where they gone the wig? And someone said, "Do you think Twitter is Facebook?" So sometimes if you want to spread fake news, you can do that on Facebook. Maybe I'm not saying people on Facebook don't have high IQ. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that before you take any propaganda and spread it on Twitter, you then think through it. Do I want to be dragged? So that's why people just feel Twitter passes more authentic information, just on a lighter mode, right? So now the question is, how do we, first of all, what is the role of problem framing to building a product? I know how to code, I know how to do this and that, but why is problem framing an important part of building a product? I'm saying this to people who might be software developers. When you have product knowledge or business knowledge, it's easier for you to scale your product even as a developer. Okay, let me go again. So that you feel I can solve this problem is not enough. Let's just code it. Let's just code it. Let's just code it. You might end up coding the wrong thing. And the good thing is here we are vibe coding. But the question now is, before we start, before we pick up the pen to solve a problem, the question is, what are we solving? I'll just quickly read through my slides. So why does problem framing matter? Because it's the foundation of great product design. I'll give a practical example. They called me on to consult on a project, which is to build a virtual hospital. And months before that project started, we went into the market to speak with market women. We got into the corporate space. We identified every user we needed on that solution and spoke with them. I think I still have the Google sheet that contains the Google form with the responses from these people. So what that did for us, with those feedback, we're able to think through with the questions we asked. What we want to offer, is it the best solution to the problem these people are facing? So we needed that. The truth is, if we wanted to just build something, the investors in that project, they are in the US. So if it's money, to an extent, they have money to spend, right? But but there's a first step to actually getting things done, and that is identifying that first of all this is a real problem, and then from feedback you ask the question or you frame it to how can we move from pain point A to customer satisfaction, right? From pain point to satisfaction, from pain point to satisfaction. That is how a product person should think. So let me move on. So poor framing equal to failed product. Think about all the apps no one uses. So we talked about the app we use. Can you think about an app that you installed it and uninstalled it the same day? Can anyone just give an example? Just you can tell me, it might not be a popular application. You installed it and uninstalled it the same day. And why? This is a very interactive session. This is a very, very interactive session. So let's listen in. Oh, my PC is not charging. Please, I have limited time to be here. I have another call for 9 p.m. which I need to prep for. So let's talk. Do I call someone? An app you installed and uninstalled the same day, and what was the reason?
Okay, I have one.
Okay, yes. Lord, please, let's
Since.
Okay, what did you say?
Since.
Spell it.
SINNTS.
Okay, in fact, let's not even call names so that we don't drag any app. So what was the reason for your on it? So what solution were they trying to solve? What problem were they trying to solve for?
Okay, something like a WeChat, but for Africa.
Something like
WeChat, but for Africa.
Okay. So what was the turn off for you?
So their transaction charges was okay. First of all, if someone like gifted you, they removed 20%. And if you're to withdraw the money, their transaction charges was just crazy. Like, I think withdrawing 1,000 naira, they will charge like 85 naira to withdraw 1,000 naira. And like, you could not withdraw at least, like, the least amount you could withdraw was like 1,000 naira. So the whole app was just very, very graphic. So I had to just uninstall it today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just tell us something recently. So lately in my company, we've been speaking to users. Because at a point, I'm just saying this because we need to track user behaviors time on time. Don't say, oh, I tracked user behavior 6 months ago and the health of my users are fine, so everything is in place. We were tracking user behaviors, but we are not tracking it in depth. Once we do meetings, every general meetings, then Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, we reduce it to Monday, Fridays. And these are at least 2 to 3 hours meetings. And we talk about churn rates, this, that, and all of that. And we are just seeing numbers. And one day we just realized that the numbers were not adding up. Customers were churning at an incredibly high rate. And at that point, we didn't know the customers were just churning. And at that same time, we increased pricing. So it doubled the churn rate, right? So you just come to after Friday's meeting, when dashboard is updated on Monday, you hear, oh, this number of customers have churned. What's the reason? They said the price is too much. That we had to sit back and decided that we'll speak to each of our customers, including the CEO. So everyone had the task to speak to the customers. And we had specific questions to ask. I spoke with some customers and I didn't realize that, oh, we are here trying to ensure operations are on point, this and that. But speaking to the customers gave us another level of insight as to how they perceive our products. as to why they are churning and why they haven't churned. Some of them didn't churn simply because our product was the best out there. The reason why they are still, or the reason why they were still with us at that time was simply because we were flexible and cheap. So um, in terms of product quality, we are not the top five, or yeah, we are not the top five. But in terms of giving them that flexibility, oh, I can reschedule, and I'm talking about an education solution. I can reschedule at any time. In the UK is one of the less expensive services and all of that. Flexibility in payment. I can pay at the end of the month rather than before the services are provided. But we now have to sit down and ask, how can we then, instead of just, while still not trying to be too expensive, right, ensure we meet up on other areas, which includes our technology. Because what we realized was that the product wasn't as user friendly as it should be. Network failure, and if you are getting into a market, study that market. We are moving to the UK, and we thought, oh, we'll use Nigerian vibes to get UK people. Man, it was a different ball game entirely. UK has precision for excellence. There's nothing like, hey, can you hear me? I cannot hear you. Oh, are you? If they tell you the class is happening by 4, your tutor should be in that class before it starts. So, speaking with these customers, we then knew the problem they were solving for and what to improve. We've already built what to improve to ensure we are meeting these needs. What problem were they solving for? For some of them, the major problem for them is we moved to the UK as first generation immigrants, and we moved to the UK as first generation immigrants, and our kids, we want them not just to be to just be there. We want them to be the best of the best. So the UK natives can just have normal classes. In fact, it's a flex. But Nigerians that move there, they're like, no, my child needs to be exceptional. So we have to employ extra curricular lessons, right? That's the problem. They just want their children to. That's what they are solving for. Excellence. They want their children to be very excellent, pass their CSAT exams. What exams do they even write? I'm trying to remember now. But pass their exams without issues. Yes, CSAT. Pass the exams without issues. So these were the problems they were solving for. Another thing was they also most time the parents don't have time to even help the children with assessment and all of that. So they needed a tutor to walk the child through, help the child understand lessons, and if possible, be ahead of the class. So for some of them, this is it. For some people, they just want their children to prepare for exams and pass the exams in one sitting, right? And so for every parent, I'm giving you some practical ways. It might not be the same for your own use case. So for every parent we get to join to use our solution, because what we are promising is a personalized learning. That is our USP, unique selling point. We are providing personalized learning. So for every parent, we have a unique call with them to understand their needs and then tailor whatever we are offering them to that need. But it might not be the same. For example, if you use Google Drive, your plan might be, oh, I'm a photographer. I'm just giving this is just a random example. I'm a photographer. Despite I have Drive where I store my pictures and all of that, I still want all of that to be backed up in the cloud. And so I have extended my Google Drive from 2 terabytes to 100 terabytes, right? I don't mind paying 50,000 a month as long as all my pictures are stored there. So the problem is they need space to store, and they don't just want their pictures to be in hard disks, which can be corrupted. So they need them to be stored in the cloud, which is more secure. And so who meets that need? Google. So let's move into this. Let's move into this. If you're still with me, can I just get a thumbs up? Can I get a thumbs up? And I'm just doing this introduction so that I can go very fast in subsequent slides. So think about all the apps no one uses. Get framing right, and you solve real problems for real people. It's about understanding the why before the what. The why before the what. One of the first solutions is so up till now, I keep asking myself, was there a better way to build this? And I think it's something I can go back to in the future. So I was building a solution which we call Quick Marry. Sorry, I want to move to the next slide, which we call Quick Marry. And Quick Marry was meant to just solve every wedding itinerary, from finding the right vendors that will provide the services you need, for be it a DJ, be it I know wedding planners does that, but where you can just go to one platform, get these people and connect with them. You can see their ratings and all of that. And especially for people that don't have time to start running around and all of that. So that was what Quick Marry was meant to solve. But beyond that, Quick Marry was also meant to help young couples plan ahead of everything they are facing, be it childbearing and all that, by you, if possible. For instance, let's say someone is in a university or just graduated, he can set aside 50,000 or 30,000 every month in their wallets, right? And save up for things like, oh, the first place I want to stay when I get married. It can be a 3-bedroom apartment in VGC that will cost 4 million, right? Before I get married in 5 years, let me see how much I can save. And for ladies that want to have elaborate wedding, you can say, oh, I don't just want the person I'm getting married to foot all the bill. I can start saving. I want my wedding to be in the Bahamas. I'm just giving an instance, or Obudu, or anywhere you think of. And then you're like, let me start saving, so that in case the man says, I don't have the money for this, I can just let him know that, oh, I've saved up for this, and I'm just so it create that saving culture. Oh, we want to have 3 children. Can we just open a trust fund for them and keep some money aside? Just things around building families, just building families for early couples and all of that. So that was what Quick Marry was about. The question was, did we do the research needed at that point? No. I built it on vibes. I built it on vibes. But yeah, that's a story for another day. So let's look at why problem framing is the skill. Why problem framing is the skill. So these are some pitfalls you should avoid while building anything, including what you're building for this hackathon. Assuming you know the problem. Spoiler, you probably don't. Second is copying competitors without understanding user needs. Oh, everybody, there was a time, just during the COVID, right? Everybody was doing for children. Oh, we are building apps for children, you lesson, this, that. A lot of people did that. And after 1 year, when the COVID was over, most of those people went under the train, simply because they just wanted to follow the vibes. They just wanted to follow the crowd. Okay. The next one, the building before understanding pain, very expensive, very, very expensive. So using vibe instead of insight. So yeah, some people do like that. Some people are just like, hey, I just feel like this is what, and when you hear what they want to build, it sounds good. But the question is, I might not even go into that. When building, there's what we call the TAM, the SAM, and the SOM. TAM is the total addressable market. SAM is the serviceable addressable market, and SOM is the serviceable obtainable market. Yeah, I think, and that's pretty much as to, oh, if you're building a messaging app, how many people use messaging app, which might be people from ages 15 or 16 and above. You get a population globally that should be, let's say, about 4 billion people. Sam is how many of these people, if you're building it for, let's say, oh, if you're building an app like LinkedIn, let's say for professionals, the question is how many people fall under this category? That's your serviceable addressable market. And then your sum is how many people really, if we launch today, will adopt the solution. So rather than just building for vibes and then realizing that your sum is just 10,000 people, and those 10,000 people, and if you look at the amount they have to pay, right, you just realize that it can't even sustain the business. And the problem you're addressing, that might not be the best way. So usually it's best you don't just build on vibes. You need to use data to build. So I just give that term, Sam, and some example as it is some data product managers or people who want. I'm trying not to use product manager because I feel everyone should have insight into business before building, be a product manager or not. So use data a lot. Um, okay, problem framing helps you focus on what actually matters the most. Yes. So now let's look at bad versus practical framing. What's the difference between a bad problem framing and a practical problem framing? So let's look at some examples. For a hospital registration system, some blockers we experienced, and the first, a bad problem framing was by assumption, saying we need a faster app. The reason why registration doesn't work is that I have this practical example that happened where I'm working. Yes, and I'll tell the story. So the first one is we need a faster app. And while the actual problem is confusing forms and long queues caused by staff bottlenecks. Solution, redesign form, staff training equal to faster process. And then the second bad problem framing is assuming that riders need better motorcycles. When the real problem, if you dig deep, is that riders face inconsistent income and lack of clear delivery zones. So the solution is clear zone allocation, transparent commission structure equal to happy riders. So I was talking about a problem which we face. We realized we're running some marketing campaigns. And the truth is, problem framing comes into every part of the business, be it before, during, or after launch. So let's say you have a marketing, let me expand your mind. You have a marketing budget of say $20,000 or 35 million naira. I'll give an example, a very practical example. We're to run some marketing campaigns. We got a very good influencer. We got a very good influencer. She did a nice video. The video went viral. It was a blast. And we promoted the video. And then we went back to the back end to see how many people signed up. Impressions, massive. People who got into the website to fill the form, massive. People who started filling the form, massive. People who completed filling the form, very low. And then we started asking questions. Where did we get it wrong? You know that at that point you might be thinking, yeah, my village people, all the people that said I will not survive. No, 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 no. We had to do a deep dive. And we realized that the problem was the form we created was a very long form. Before people could fill the form, they were exhausted. The questions were too much. And then we streamlined it to 3 top questions we want to ask. And we avoided questions of, we ensured if they were to type, it would be minimal. Right? And then we retargeted again and got a different result. So instead of just, saying, people didn't submit the form, let's look for another, this influencer did not do it well, right? Let's look for another influencer. Or, we didn't get the number of leads we needed. We need to do this. The first question is go back and ask questions. Ask why. Why? So that's, I think that's what we are moving into next. So sorry, 1 minute. Okay, sorry. Let me just silence this phone here. Okay, so the next is problem framing techniques, very practical steps. So I have 5 problem framing techniques here. How much time do I have? Wow. Let me see how fast I can go with this. I'll share the slides after now so that you can take it off from where I left and on your own just go through it, because there are some activities to be done after this. So let's go. Let's take the first one is the 5 whys to uncover root cause analysis. So the 5 whys helps you with that. POV statement, how might we, questions, JTBD, you see the full meaning of all this, and then rapid user research. So let's go to the first one. The 5 whys, sorry, the 5 the 5 whys just helps you to address the root cause, right? A practical example is online classes. For instance, let's say we're expecting 40 people on this call, right? And 5 people join. This is just an example. And 5 people joined. And then it happened the first day, happened the second day, happened the third day. And so the organizers, let me say, Jeffrey comes up and say, online classes attendance is low. How do we employ the 5 whys here? The first question is, the first why is students don't show up. Okay, why? They forget the class time. Why? No reminders are sent. Why? The platform doesn't trigger notification. Why? Then you realize that both the back end and the front end did not take into, in fact, the entire product team did not consider that notifications was an important part of the system. Notification engine is not set. So the root cause here is that lack of communication automation. For someone like me, usually if I have a recurring meeting, sometimes I have it in my head. By this time I have a meeting. By this time I have a meeting. But sometimes, no matter how sharp your mind is, no matter how sharp your brain is, you forget. And this is what happened here while the online class attendance was low. The root cause was lack of communication automation. So people don't get triggered, they don't get notified when it's time for a particular meeting. So this is something you will do, and I know in the schedule there's a time to submit assessments or assignments. So what I want you to do is pick a problem. You might not do it here so that we don't get distracted. Pick a problem. If we have time after the presentation, we can look into it. But pick a problem, ask why 5 times, and share the root cause. Does that work? Does anyone have a question here? And can I move on? Any question? If you have any question, you can also share in the chat so that I can address it after now. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, 1 minute. Okay, so the next one is POV statement. Okay, I make everything very as practical as possible. So a POV or point of view statement is it's addressing the question users needs a user needs a particular outcome because of a struggle, right? So let me this is an example. I'm using most of my examples are educational because I'm in the educational space, and health related because I'm in the health space. I'm also very soon I'll get into the oil and gas space, and you see such examples. I like giving practical things with what my hands have seen, my eyes have seen, my hands have handled. So permit me. So let me move on. Let me move on. A GSS 3 student needs simpler lesson explanation because they struggle to understand complex textbook language. You understand? So the tips to solving point of view statement is write like you're chatting on WhatsApp. Let it be very informal, very, very informal, very informal. Let's say I'm trying to find another example to say um um I'm trying to find another example. Um okay. While I think that through, but just think about what you're building. I gave the example of the of the quick marry app, and I can say Femi needs to save Femi needs to save 5 million naira by December because he needs to get married. That's his wedding budget. I've given an example. It might be more than that. So, how do you want to help Femi save 5 million? The truth to this answer is quick marry might not be the answer. There are over 20 solutions to helping Femi. It might be a loan, it might be call committee of friends. But the main problem is that Femi needs 5 million to get married. I don't know, I'm using marriage as an example. But you get the gist. You get the gist. So, first of all, like I said, avoid preconceived notion to say, oh, this is the solution to this problem. No, ask that question. Oh, he needs this because of this. She needs this because of this, right? And so for Femi's problem, like I said, 20 ways. I've given like 3 ways. He can get a loan, he can call committee of friends, and all of them will contribute. If they are big boys, he can get 15 people to contribute half of that money. Um, he can he can send he can put everybody on the WhatsApp group. I'm just giving some examples. Um, he can get a job. He can even start, just do something. Just do something. Another way is that he can save. And how can we help him save? I'm just giving an example. So write like you're chatting on WhatsApp. Be specific about the user, their needs, and their struggles. Their needs and their struggles. Their needs and their struggles. So what is that person finding difficult to do? Currently, we are facing a need, and that is we have someone who wants to pay us in naira, and then okay, it's a funny thing. So we are paying the person, an employee in the UK, we are paying him in pounds, but we will receive the money in naira, convert to pounds, and then send to our pounds account and pay him in pounds. That is the struggle. We are not doing fintech here, but outside here you can then think about it. I know Lemfi and the rest are solving for that, right? But for the Nigerian, for the typical Nigerian, how can I solve that problem? Even as an organization. Even as now the bank is telling me, oh, you need to open a pounds account, this and that and that and that. And I don't have time for all that struggle. So let's move on. Let's move on. How might we questions? Oh, I immediately I saw how might we. I just remembered my first product management training. How might we? How I asked a lot of how might we? How might we? How might we? How might we? So how might we build a payment app? Too broad is a very broad question. But the practical way to ask this is how might we help bus commuters pay faster without cash? And I wish it can happen for people that commute with public transport. Instead of conductor to shout, oh me that, oh me that. I don't get change. Everybody enter with your change, right? A practical way that you can get in, pay without cash, and not fight with the conductor. This might be a problem for someone to solve. So let's take that into consideration. So the key steps to how might we is one, focus on the problem, not the solution. Make them actionable and testable. Encourage brainstorming encourage brainstorming a wide range of ideas. The next one is jobs to be done. What job is your product doing for the user? I've given an example of Google Drive, where the job it is doing for the user is to ensure their memories are not lost. For the photographer, is to ensure they capture every single moment and it doesn't get lost due to RAM damage. I remembered, I just wish there was Google Drive then. My first laptop, I think that was in 2012, yes, or 2013, 2012, one of those times, right? It had a lot. I had a lot on it, messages, images, so many things, so many things. And one day it got missing. My heart almost left my body. And I said, this is what Google Drive would have solved. I don't mind subscribing and paying this amount to get it weekly. But yeah, I'm going very fast now. Okay. So just think about it. What problem? What the truth is, where you solve a problem, you have the money. I have seen it several times. I've seen it practical. ChatGPT came free. And then at a point they monetized it. My brother, I paid for ChatGPT until they reviewed their price last month. I was enjoying the premium version because I saw value. It was solving a problem for me. It was helping me get a particular job done. So let me go to rapid user research, real life, and quick. So you don't need weeks of research, right? One thing you want to do is meet the people, go out as quick as possible, have conversations with people. Every of these things, I've seen practical ways where they've been applied. User interview, I talked about how we spoke with every of our users just to know what their current pain point is, the part of their problem our solution is meeting and where we are still lagging. Another way there's what we call focus group. We did a focus group one time when we built our mobile app. We went to a school, spoke with the school principal, got the students to come down to our office because it was on the same street, come down to our office, use our tablets, and we observed them using that tablet to learn. In fact, we're so intentional about it that we even gave prices to say, oh, if you're able to do this, you're eligible to win tablets, because we needed to even understand how they use our solution. So that's observation. Okay, let me just even go into this. So I've talked about 10 minutes mapping. I've talked about observation. So some of the things you want to look at as observation is on clear buttons, right? When the user is having struggle finding a particular button, hesitant click, point of frustration, time spent on a specific task. So you might think, oh, then we thought, oh, user testing is important. Now I'm remembering some things and it's making me laugh. So then we are thinking like adults when we are building things for kids. And we said, a child should be able to attempt this question in 30 seconds. And we said that these children, before 2 minutes, they're still there. And then they'll be like, Uncle, I can't see it again. And we needed to go back and say, okay, let's do a accumulation time of this, right? Rather than putting the child under pressure to solve a particular problem in a limited time. Let's say we can give 20 minutes to the entire assessment, and they use their time. All they need to see is that they see the 20 minutes timer and manage their time successively rather than being under pressure, right? Um, Assumption mapping. So this is high risk, prioritize high risk. So you can read this, and then finally surveys. So I've put some survey guide here. So MVP scoping. Don't worry, I'm almost done. MVP scoping translate. Currently, I talked about a consulting I'm doing for a company. What we are building is we are building a virtual hospital. And in building that virtual hospital, one of the questions we asked is, what can we launch today? What can we launch today? And in fact, there were modules. Let me give you an example. We had the emergency module. The emergency module is typical when you go into a hospital, that emergency place where you see they say, oh, rush the person here. That's the emergency module. And we are building it virtually to say you have an emergency, you call, you speak to a triage, which in the physical hospital setting is a nurse. They assess and then ask questions. And if it's quite critical, an ambulance can be sent to you. If it's less critical, or if it's less critical and you need to speak to a doctor, you can be transferred to a doctor. You can be recommended to a lab and other places. But the question is, do we want to launch all this at once? And then we said no. What part of it have we built? We've built the consultation part, where a patient can have either a physical or a virtual consultation with the doctor. We can start that as our MVP rather than waiting for all the modules, which include um, lab, emergency, ambulance, home care to be ready. And we've already rolled that out and we're getting feedback. So focus on what can we get in front of the users ASAP. Must go, must have, should have, could have, wouldn't have. This is a practical example. A school building a learning app used the Moscow framework to decide that video lessons were a must-have. Example was what we built in our mobile app. We had learning videos, right? Videos. Parent reports were should have. Yeah. So parent reports is a should have, because parents need to see the progress of their children um, month on month or time on time. Dark mode is a could have, and multilingual support is a won't have, at least for the first release. Impact effort metrics. So, what is the high impact, low effort? Do that first. So, what is the thing I can do today with minimal effort that will impact the use of my product today? Think about those. It could be a wireframe. Get your prototype, just get it out there. That will then help users to even see what you're doing. I'm just giving an example. I'm giving an example. So avoid low impact, high efforts. Avoid those. Avoid. So example is hackathons reward quick wins. So a hackathon like this is a good place where you can quickly get something out to the user and get feedback immediately. So we are done. We are done. So this is something practical. Students forget assignments. So you give assignments and students don't get it done. So list 5 potential solutions. Categorize each solution using Moscow. So you can do this on your own. And I can also bring more practical, I can work with Jeffrey and give more practical problems out for us to solve. So this is your homework. Interview 3 people about a problem you want to solve. Write POV. I've given all of these are on the slides. How might this statement based on your research? Create an assumption map for your solution. Select MVP features based on your assumption. So don't assume. Frame it right. The right framing changes everything. Thank you. And did I meet the time?
Yes.
Yes.
Almost. Can you hear me?
Yes. So 1 minute.
Okay. Can you hear me, Ugochukwu?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. I can hear you loud
Awesome.
and clear.
My
Yes,
mic
thank
is
you.
back, guys. Thank
Yeah,
you
I
so
can hear
much. It
you.
was
Thank
it
you
was
so much.
really good.
Yeah.
You really learned a lot. I've seen how you always reflect on mistakes that you made
I'm
in your
telling you.
bad notes. But thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for also preparing this material together. Please,
Thank
you
you.
can share the link. It will be passed across. Um, Thanks everyone who stayed on this long. I hope you actually learned um as much as even I did from this session. Um, because of time, we are not able to go into as much details, but this just give you an overview. And even with the assignments that are in the document, you can use that to already start working something out. So thank you very much, Ugochukwu. Before I let us go, I know we are pressed for time. I have a treat, a very, very special treat. And I'm excited because I think it's going to make your life easier. And it's just one of the ways that a solution or a tool meets a need. Now it's left to us to use it the way we deem fit. So I'm going to share my screen and then share something really interesting with us. Please let me know when it comes up. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so this is not it. This is something that was built using Bolt, right? It was built using Bolt AI. It's an end-to-end product. It works, right? You can sign up using Google. Um, and there's so many things that you can do. But we know that when there's access to tools and ideas are flying all over the place, there's so many things that can happen, and then you can get caught up in just getting excited about ideas without really solving a problem. So that's why we're taking time to go through all of this. But the tool that I want to share, and I think the community managers would also share the link to it, but it's a hackathon tool. And the way it works is that you remember I said that I know now that people don't like to read, right? Because what we've learned is that a lot of people are asking questions that have the answers in the participation guidelines that was sent, as an email. But some people might not have seen it for whatsoever reasons, and that's fine. So this particular tool lets you share the details of the hackathon, even down to you can just clone a URL and then work with that. Now I know that it says um, Pro, unlock Pro features, but the exciting part is that if you're attending this webinar, all you have to do is just go here, click on Get Free Beta Access. You enter your email address. Let's say end user at tech.com. Just something random. You can see password. You have to create a strong password, sure. I hope this password matches. Oh, it works. Yeah, so when you sign in, you then have access to the whole pro thing. So the first thing you want to do is to come here, create a new project, give it a name. You can call it Fail Forward or whatever project you want, and then you create and then it saves. Now, what you need to do is if you have access to that document, that's the participation guideline, you go there and copy it. Another thing you could do is go to failforward.com.ng, click on the guidelines menu option, and then just copy everything like this. Copy, 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 copy. And then paste here, and then analyze rules. So what this does is that it gives you details that can help you track the details of the hackathon. What I would recommend would be to use this event guideline document or the presentation. Actually, no, use the event guideline document. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. No, not here. I think this should be it. So let's say this, for example. You can take this. Copy, 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 copy everything. Copy every single thing as much as you want to, because all the details are here. Sorry, it doesn't have an upload feature. That will be worked on in the future. But for now, just copy. If you have this opened in maybe an editor or a PDF viewer, all you have to do is just do Command A or Control A, and it's to copy everything. Once you have it copied, I'll just stop here, Vex. I'm tired. You come here and you paste, and then you analyze the rules. So it would use this to build out the details all in one in a much more presentable manner, right? For you. So if you notice, um, yeah, so here it has the deadline for submission here. Um, it has there's supposed to be a deadline tracker. If you copy the details enough, the deadline tracker will show here. You can also get ideas. Maybe if you have an idea, you can get a prompt. You can get a prompt that you can put into an AI tool such as Bolt, right? So if you just type what you want to do here, it will give you the entire prompt that you can then put into Bolt. And remember, I said you should try creating an account with Bolt using their free version and see what you can do. So you can try this and see how much credits or how much tokens you end up using. Now, you can also generate a script for your video submission, right? You can also generate ideas, right? For based on the what's it called now? Based on the um submission guidelines, based on the hackathon guidelines. You can click on this button to add a personal detail about what you want to do. You can interact. I don't think this has this is supposed to be like an FAQ for the rules, for the guidelines, but I don't think it has been okay. It's not fully functioning yet, so that needs to be reworked. Then the best part is that you can open studio mode and then use it to record your video, your demo video. Um I think I'll have to enable yeah, I think I'll have to enable this on allow. You should be able to see me. Yeah, there I am. So the script that you generated would appear here, or you can read from your own phone and then you just start recording. Select MP4 so that it captures the sound very well. You could record and then check it out. If it doesn't look good, re-record again and all of that. You can also use your laptop's camera or Loom. That's loom.com. It's a free tool. You can use that to record if you want. I think they give you 5 minutes for first new subscribers. So yeah, that's the tool. The link will be shared shortly. Okay, that's it from me. I hope that was helpful. Awesome. So yeah, I can consider that today's giveaway. So on everybody wins. Next webinar would have a different giveaway. Make sure you join on time. I'm just giving you hints on time. That time, there's a factor to it. So those that know. But yeah, thank you so much, you guys. This was an amazing time. Enjoy the rest of your evening and happy building. Bye, everyone.